Imagine you finally made it. You're standing at the peak of the mountain you've been climbing for 30 years. You have the house with the wraparound porch. You have the luxury car in the driveway. Your bank account has more zeros than you ever dreamed of as a kid. You are, by every metric society has ever given you, a massive success. But as you stand in your designer kitchen at 2 a.m., pouring a glass of water in the dark, a terrifying realization hits you like a physical blow to the chest. The house is silent, not the peaceful silence of a vacation, but a heavy, pressurized silence that feels like it's crushing your ribs. You realize that if you disappeared tomorrow, it would take weeks for anyone to notice who wasn't on your payroll. You are surrounded by people, colleagues, neighbors, family, yet you are more alone than you were when you were a broke student sleeping on a mattress on the floor. Most people believe the loneliest age is 80, when friends have passed away and health has failed. They are wrong. Science has identified a much more dangerous peak, a specific year where the world seems to go quiet just as you finally earned the right to enjoy it. This isn't just a feeling, it is a structural failure of modern life. If you are currently between the ages of 30 and 60, you are walking directly into a psychological blind spot. You are building a life designed for privacy, but privacy is the primary fuel for human decay. In the next minutes, we are going to peel back the curtain on the success paradox, the reason why the more money you make, the lonelier you are likely to become. We will explore the biological cost of this invisible loneliness and reveal the one specific age that catches everyone off guard. By the end of this, you'll understand the social architecture required to survive the next decade of your life, because right now, you might be saving for a retirement that you'll be too lonely to enjoy. It starts with success and ends with a trap. Meet David. David is 45 years old. He lives in a quiet, affluent neighborhood in Vancouver. Every morning, he follows the same high-performance routine: 5 a.m. workout, black coffee, 3 hours of deep work, and then back-to-back Zoom calls. He is the person everyone goes to for answers. He is a provider. He is a leader. He is a pillar of his community. But David is part of a silent epidemic that is currently sweeping through North America, an epidemic of functional loneliness. Functional loneliness is a unique psychological trap. It's when your life is overflowing with interaction but starving for connection. David speaks to 50 people a day, but 100% of those conversations are transactional. They are about deadlines, tuition fees, mortgage rates, or household chores. He is needed as a utility, but he is no longer known as a person. The man who used to stay up until dawn debating philosophy with his college roommates hasn't had a conversation that didn't involve a spreadsheet in over 5 years. He's reached what psychologists call the saturation point. This is the moment when your responsibilities, career, aging parents, growing children, become so heavy that they squeeze out the time required for spontaneous joy. David tells himself he'll reconnect with his friends once things settle down, but he's falling for the great illusion, the belief that friendship is a permanent asset you can leave in a drawer and pick up later. In reality, friendship is a perishable good. If you don't use it, you lose the literal neural pathways required to sustain it. But there is a deeper reason David is lonely, and it has to do with his bank account. David has fallen into the luxury trap. He worked hard to move out of a crowded apartment and into a quiet house with a tall fence. He worked hard to trade public transit for a private car. He worked hard to buy privacy. What he didn't realize is that in the 21st century, wealth is the ultimate isolator. We pay for walls, we pay for gates, we pay for the ability to never have to deal with a stranger, and in doing so, we systematically dismantle the very accidental encounters that keep a human being sane. And then, something begins to break. Not suddenly, but silently. Here is the cold, hard mathematics of friendship that no one warns you about. In your 20s, friendship is a byproduct of proximity. You are thrown together in dorms, entry-level cubicles, and crowded bars. You don't have to try to have friends. The world literally forces them into your orbit. This is sociability by default. But as you cross into your 30s and 40s, the invisible wall begins to rise. The wall is built out of optimization. You start optimizing your life for efficiency. You move to a better neighborhood where houses are further apart. You work from a home office where you never have water cooler chats. You outsource your errands. You become a productive member of society, but in doing so, you systematically eliminate every accidental encounter you used to have. This is the conflict of maturity. We trade frequency for quality, but we forget that quality connection is impossible without frequency. You can't have a deep relationship with someone you only see once every 6 months for a scheduled dinner. That's not a friendship. That's a board meeting. Connection requires unstructured time, the kind of time that high achievers like David have categorized as wasteful. The psychological trap is that we think loneliness is a choice or a personality flaw. It isn't. It is a biological signal, just like hunger or thirst. When you're hungry, your body tells you to eat. When you're lonely, your body tells you to connect. But in our modern high-performance world, we've learned to caffeine away the hunger and work away the loneliness. We ignore the signal so long that the social muscle begins to atrophy. And that's when the biological bill comes due, because loneliness isn't just a sad feeling, it is a physical attack on your longevity. Your brain wasn't designed for this life. Let's look at the research, and it's darker than most people want to admit. A landmark study from Brigham Young University revealed that the health impact of loneliness is the equivalent of smoking 15 cigarettes a day. It is more lethal than obesity. It is more damaging than physical inactivity. When you are socially isolated, your brain remains in a state of hypervigilance. Evolutionarily, being alone meant being dead. A lone human on the savannah was easy prey. Therefore, your brain treats loneliness as a life-threatening emergency. Your amygdala, the brain's alarm system, stays stuck in the on position. Your cortisol levels remain elevated. Your inflammation markers spike. Your sleep quality degrades because your brain is subconsciously listening for predators. You are literally aging faster because you don't have anyone to laugh with. But why is there a peak age? Why does it surprise everyone? It's because of the U-bend of life. Across dozens of cultures, happiness follows a U-shaped curve. We start high in youth, and then we begin a long, slow slide into the trough of midlife. The lowest point of that curve hits its absolute bottom between the ages of 45 and 50. This is the age of maximum responsibility. You are the sandwich generation. You are being squeezed from the top by aging parents who need your care, and from the bottom by children who need your guidance. You are the CEO of a household, a career, and a legacy. In this high-pressure environment, the very first thing we sacrifice is our own social play. We tell ourselves that seeing friends is indulgent or selfish compared to the needs of our family. In fact, your loneliness peaks much earlier than you think. So what is the age? What is the year that catches everyone off guard? Multiple studies, including a major survey of over 50,000 people, identified that loneliness hits a shocking, massive spike at age 33. Wait, 33? Why not 65 when people retire? Why not 80? Because 33 is the year the social infrastructure of your youth finally collapses. In your 20s, you're still coasting on the momentum of school and early career bonds, but by 33, the great divergence has happened. This is the age where your peer group splits into different economic reality bubbles. Some of your friends are married with toddlers and have vanished into the home life vortex. Some are still single and focused on the hustle. Some have moved across the country for a promotion. The common ground that held your friendships together, the shared struggle of being young and broke, has been shattered by different levels of success. At 33, you realize for the first time that you have to build a social life rather than just inhabiting one.
If you don't make that shift, if you don't become an architect of connection, you enter the long fade. The 40s become a blur of work, and by 50, you wake up like David, wondering where everyone went. The payoff to this realization is simple but profound. Loneliness is not a lack of people, it is a lack of shared meaning. You can be in a crowded room and feel lonely because no one in that room understands your internal narrative. To fix the loneliness, you don't need a larger contact list. You need a higher level of vulnerability. But vulnerability is expensive. It requires time. It requires the risk of being seen as unsuccessful. And for the high-achieving demographic in the US and Canada, that is the hardest price to pay.
You don't find connection on screens. You find it in presence. A YouTuber or commenting on a thread counts as social interaction. It doesn't. Your brain needs the micro expressions, the shared physical space, and the low-stakes proximity of other humans. David, the 45-year-old from our story, didn't fix his life by going on a friendship date. He fixed it by joining a local community woodshop. He stepped into a space where he was valued for his skill, not his status. He found a third place where he could be David again, not just the VP. The secret to high retention living is intentionality. In your 20s, friends were a gift. In your 40s, friends are a discipline. You have to move from being a social consumer to a social producer. This means building a social portfolio with the same rigor you build your retirement portfolio. Diversification. Don't just have work friends. You need friends who don't care about your industry. Compounding. Small, consistent interactions, a weekly 15-minute call are worth more than one giant dinner every 2 years. Risk management. You have to risk the awkwardness of reaching out first, because the alternative is the invisible wall. The alternative is reaching the summit of the mountain and realizing you have no one to share the view with. You don't lose people with time. You lose them by design. We spend the first half of our lives trying to be something. We want the title, the status, and the security. We work ourselves to the bone to ensure that we are never left behind financially. But in our desperate race to avoid being poor, we often end up being relationally bankrupt. The loneliest age isn't a number on your birth certificate. It is the day you decide that your to-do list is more important than your to-be list. It is the day you stop being curious about other people because you're too busy managing your own image. The golden years are only golden if there are people there to reflect the light. Your bank account can't hold your hand in a hospital room. Your job title won't laugh at your jokes when you're 70. Your 401k won't remember the you before the world got heavy. If you're feeling the silence today, don't ignore it. It's not a sign of failure, it's a call to action. Reach out to one person. Not for a deal, not for a favor, but just to say, I was thinking about that time we laughed until we couldn't breathe. Because at the end of the day, the only thing that follows you into the dark is the love you gave and the connections you kept. The most expensive thing you can own is a life that no one else truly knows. Don't die with your social portfolio empty. Build the bridge before the water gets too high.